When Ultra Sun and Moon first came out, all I could really see for miles was a sea of people saying stuff like, these games are the same as Sun and Moon. Well, welcome to Version Differences, friends. The series where I go over Pokemon games with the finest tooth comb you can imagine and prove that, indeed, there are a lot of changes that most people wouldn't notice. Just a disclaimer, in previous videos covering the different regions, I've had all of the games in one video. So for example, in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald's video, I compared Ruby and Sapphire to each other, and then compared both to Emerald. But the thing is, when Sun and Moon came out, I made a video solely focusing on those two games because, as we saw with X and Y, there was no guarantee that there would be a follow-up, so I took a chance and it turned out that there actually were follow-ups. Oh well. But to save on regurgitating a bunch of the same info, I'm gonna focus on how Ultra Sun and Moon made changes to the originals and compare them against each other. So if you also want to see how the original Sun and Moon differ to each other, then the original video will be in the description or something. Also, it should be obvious that by the nature of this series, this video is going to be heavy with spoilers. Apparently, a lot of you actually do use the watch later list, so be sure to put it to good use here if you don't want to be spoiled. All of the original version differences that haven't been altered by the story remain in these games, so I won't repeat them all again. New version exclusive Pokemon would be the Omanite, Houndour, Anorith, Golett, Clauncher, and Tyrant lines, as well as Red Stripe Basculin and Blacephalon for Ultra Sun, and the Kabuto, Electrike, Baltoy, Lileep, Skrelp, and Amora lines, as well as Blue Stripe Basculin and Stakataka for Ultra Moon. A whole host of legendary Pokemon are also available. Ultra Sun has Ho-Oh, Raikou, Groudon, Latios, Dialga, Heatran, Reshiram, Tornadus, and Xerneas, while Ultra Moon has Lugia, Entei, Kyogre, Latias, Palkia, Regigigas, Zekrom, Thundurus, and Yveltal. As for the totem-sized gift Pokemon, in Ultra Sun you get Marowak, Gumshoos, Vikavolt, Ribombee, and Lurantis, whereas in Ultra Moon you get Raticate, Araquanid, Salazzle, Togedemaru, and Kommo-o. Plot-wise, like most paired games, there's not much to talk about. The Ultra Recon Squad appear throughout the story, but which two members follow you is dependent on your version. In Ultra Sun, it's Dulce and Zosie, whereas in Ultra Moon, it's Baiko and Celera. The only real difference at the climax of the game is which legendary Pokemon the Necrozma fuses with. Also, the default Pokemon that you use for Ultra Warp Ride is the evolution of Cosmog that's not on the cover. Another random change is the Sandygast on Ula Ula Island. It swaps locations from routes 14 to 15 between Ultra Sun and Moon. In Ultra Sun, it's unhappy with its Black Sand Beach, and if you move it to Ula Ula Beach, you'll get a free Stardust. Whereas in Ultra Moon, you just battle it. The different versions have different Pokedex entries for each Pokemon. And finally, in the Rainbow Rocket episode, some of the team leaders have different teams depending on which version you play. For example, I played Ultra Moon and Lysander used an Yveltal, while in Ultra Sun he would have had a Xerneas. Or say Giovanni having a Mega Mewtwo X in Ultra Sun, and the Y version in Ultra Moon. Okay, that's about it for the differences between the two games, but how exactly did they alter the original Sun and Moon? Let's start at the beginning, shall we? The title screen differs between Ultra Sun and Moon, but it also differs from the original Sun and Moon too. Initially it features the respective form of Necrozma, but then goes on to show off some of Ultra Sun and Moon's new features. So what changes did they make to obtainable Pokemon? Well, like every follow-up since Platinum, these games have an expanded regional Pokedex. So obviously the wild Pokemon distributions from the originals have been smashed to pieces. This has a massive impact on the teams of random NPCs to major story battles. All of the trades are different in these games, and they too reflect the changes made to the regional decks. Another area it impacts would be the Pokefinder. Pikachu Valley is a new area available for this feature, but even returning areas have a wide variety of new Pokemon to snapshot. A few new gift Pokemon would include Surfing Pikachu, Poipole, Zygarde 10%, and a totem-sized Pokemon. You also get given type Null by Wick instead of by Gladion. The majority of Pokemon available through Island Scan are different too. Another trend introduced in Platinum is the addition of new forms. The new forms this time include Partner Cat Pikachu, Dusk Form Lycanroc, Ultra Necrozma, Duskmane, and Dawn Wings. Ultra Sun and Moon are also the first games in the series to introduce new Pokemon across games in the same generation. We got the new Ultra Beast Blacephalon and Stakataka, Poipole, Naganadel, and the new as yet unrevealed mythical Pokemon Zeora. Zygarde now appears in Resolution Cave, and pretty much all past legendaries bar mythicals can now be found through the Ultra Warp Ride, as well as a selection of Pokemon that you couldn't get in Sun and Moon. Graphically, there's a lot to cover. The region looks a lot more vibrant than it did before, with lots of random aesthetic additions thrown in there. The visual changes are present right from the start, with an updated Kukui cutscene at the beginning and a pretty nice new room. It's a switch! The playable character also has a different default design. 2 more male and female hairstyles are available, being the short and layered, short and tousled, braided tails, and flipped out bob. There are some new clothing options too. The hair and eye color options are still really bad though. None of these are even close. You call that blue? Another change that makes me sad is that they changed the color scheme of the ride outfit. Oh wait, never mind, it's only for the female. And yes, I know it probably wasn't intentional, but the original color scheme of the ride outfit is the same color scheme used by my favorite Pokemon. So yeah, I'm quite sad that they changed it. Certain areas now have their native Pokemon in the background. For example, Route 1 has Flying Murkrow and Wingull, Route 4 has Fomantis, and so on. The battle menu is different, as well as the summary and party display, HP bars, speech bars, area markers, bag design and interior layout, save menu, some battle backgrounds. There are also new cutscenes. Some of these relate to the changes made to the main story and others don't. Some have been tweaked, and some were completely cut. But moving on from graphics, what major changes were made to existing areas? Well, Howley and Coney City have the Alola Photo Club, Hey City and Route 15 have the Surf Association, and Mali City has the Cantonian Gym, a facility styled after the gym of the iconic Lieutenant Surge. Exeggutor Island is laid out differently, with you having to calm down some Exeggutor in order to get to the upper section. Mount Lanakila is also far more developed and more like a proper victory road this time. Festival Plaza has the new battle agency, which is similar to the Battle Factory. There are new areas across Alola too, including a new beach on all 4 of the islands, Sandy Cave, Pikachu Valley, and Plains Grotto. New areas available through the Ultra Warp Ride would be Ultra Megalopolis, Megalo Tower, and a whole bunch of Ultra Space environments where you find Pokemon and Ultra Beasts. Festival Plaza and the Aether Foundation are briefly taken over by Team Rainbow Rocket, resulting in their fancy castle. But what about the main story? Well, like previous follow-ups, Ultra Sun and Moon have a very similar story to their original pair. Most of the story dialogue is the same, but the odd bit has been changed here and there, and even entire sections that have been cut. For example, the way you receive your starter is different, with it being shortly after you enter Route 1, so a lot of the previous dialogue here was cut. The Ultra Recon Squad now appear throughout the story as lawgivers for Necrozma, and you get to battle them a few times too. Most of the trials have changed in some way. Illuma's is the same, Lana's starts further on into Brooklet Hill but is still mostly the same, Kiawe's is very similar, Mallow's and Sophocles trials have new puzzles, Ace Roller's is the same but with a different cutscene, and Mina takes on a slightly different role in these games. She's now the person who greets you from on top of the boat, and she doesn't appear in Great Pony Canyon either. The weird trial with Komodo is still there, but she has a completely new trial where you seek out petals from the other trial captains to make one combined flower. Some totem Pokemon stay the same, but all the totem battles except the first one are different in some way because the totems can call in new allies thanks to the expanded Pokedex. Aside from trials and the Ultra Recon Squad, most of the changes come after Aether Paradise. Nihilego still appears, but after this, a cutscene plays explaining more about Necrozma and the danger it could possibly pose to Alola. Skip along to Aether and it's pretty much the same up until you enter Luzmine's house. She's still nasty, but this time she's got no interest in Nihilego at all, instead giving herself the duty of saving Alola from Necrozma. Obviously a lot of the dialogue has been changed to reflect this. You still battle her, but this time it's to prove to Gladion that she's capable of doing this herself. Either way, she and Guzma still end up in the Ultra Wormhole and you have to trek all the way over to Pony Island to save them. Ultra Beasts still spew out into Alola with new cutscenes, and our precious little How decides to join in on the fun too. Hapu is now battled as a kahuna on Exeggutor Island, instead of after the events atop the altar. Speaking of those events, they pretty much play out the same until after Cosmoem evolves. Then a giant Ultra Wormhole opens and out pop Luzmine and Guzma. Necrozma then fuses with Solgaleo or Lunala, changing forms and initiating a battle. It then flees and you gotta chase it back to Megalo Tower using the Ultra Warp Ride. Atop the Megalo Tower, it changes form again, this time becoming Ultra Necrozma. And geez, this thing is really difficult. You return back to Alola, Lily somewhat makes up with her mother, and they take Nebby back to Aether Paradise with them. Same old trip to Mount Lanakila, which like I said before is more developed, and it's actually where Necrozma ended up after the previously mentioned events. I'm guessing it's because it's in a weakened state, but this thing now has a catch rate of 255. For context, other Pokemon with a 255 catch rate would be Caterpie, Pidgey, Magikarp, Budew. I think you get the picture. There's no final How battle like in Sun and Moon because this time he's your first champion challenger. Earlier on in the story, more emphasis is put on How with his attempts to get stronger, which helps to set up for this change. For some reason, he gets to walk around with his starter. See guys, following Pokemon is a feature in these games after all. For How. He also doesn't send it out of its ball in some of these battles, which is pretty reminiscent of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Marlene is now a member of the Elite Four, with his room changed to reflect that. The cutscenes shown in the credits are slightly different, with it showing that this time it's Gladion who travels to Kanto instead of Lily. My child, no, why? There's also this new credit section with sprite animations that is simply beautiful. Heart Gold and Soul Silver much. You also aren't forced to catch Tapu Koko as part of the ending, which is something I'm pretty grateful for. There's a different lineup of champion challenges too. Marlene no longer challenges as he's now a member of the Elite Four, and neither does Faba. Not that I really miss him. As for new challenges, there's Guzma, and Gladion will return and challenge you 1 month after he left for Kanto. And then there's Luzamine on the first day of every month. The post-game is entirely different. No Annabelle and Looker, though they do make a brief appearance if you try and head toward the battle tree too early. First, you're called over to Pony Island to try and take care of a situation involving the 2 new Ultra Beasts. After this is over, the Festival Plaza is taken over by Team Rainbow Rocket. You have to stop him using the battle agency. Then they take over Aether Paradise and you have to navigate through different sections of the castle and beat evil team leaders of games past. Giovanni leads this new team, and once you stop him, he escapes through an ultra wormhole, vowing to unleash his evil schemes on a new world. Okay, let's take a look at the massive new features that were introduced. Starting off with the mini-games, first up is Mantine Surf. This is why all the islands get new beaches, so you can surf between the islands. Mantine Surf is, well, a surfing minigame, where you build up momentum and use different button combinations to perform tricks. It's a new way of earning BP too, which you can use on the new move tutors located on all the beaches, and the battle tree too. It also changes the course of the story a little bit, because this is how you travel from Mele Mele to Akala instead of taking the professor's boat. There's the Alola Photo Club, which has 2 branches, allowing you to take a bunch of cute photos with your Pokemon. Could just be me, but I feel like Game Freak threw in as many Heart Gold and Soul Silver references into these games as humanly possible. And then there's the Ultra Warp Ride, which is where you ride Solgaleo and Lunala through Ultra Space for as long as you can without getting sucked into any wormholes. The longer you go, the fancier the wormholes become, increasing your chances of getting rare Pokemon like shinies or legendaries. If you want to play though, just be sure to change the controls from motion to circle pad, because otherwise you will hurt. A feature that was removed from Sun and Moon would be the collecting of Zygarde cells around Alola. Earlier on in the game, Dexio will give you a full restore instead of the Zygarde cube. The cube is actually given to you after you catch Zygarde in Resolution Cave, and beat Dexio on Route 16. It already has 40 cells in it, and with the 10% Zygarde you're also given, that's your Zygarde 100% form ready to go. Later on in the game when they give you the Keystone, Cena and Dexio will appear in Pony Plains instead of on Ancient Pony Path. Serving as a replacement to the cells would be the Totem Stickers. When you collect certain amounts of these, Samson Oak will give you Pokemon that are the same size as totems. Rotom Dex also has much more of a purpose in these games, as well as having more dialogue and these freaking adorable expressions. There's the Roto Lotto feature that gives you Rotom powers, which are pretty much the same as past powers and O powers before them, giving you a temporary boost to things like experience, prize money. Rotom can now also help you out in battle by letting you use more than one Z move. And speaking of Z moves, there are a bunch more in these games. This would include Como-O's Clangorous Soul Blade, Lycanroc's Splintered Storm Shards, Duskmane Necrozma's Sunray Smash, Dawn Wings Necrozma's Menacing Moonrays Maelstrom, that's a mouthful, Ultra Necrozma's Light That Burns the Sky, and my personal favorite, Mimikyu's Let's Snuggle Forever. Also, the Z-Ring is black now? Okay, kinda random. 3 new regular moves were also introduced, all of which are signature moves. There's Blacephalon's Mind Blown, Necrozma's Photon Geyser, and Plasma Fists for the as yet unreleased Pokemon Zora. Now it's time to take a look at a bunch of random changes that don't really fit anywhere else. The music! I could make a whole video rambling about this stuff. Some themes like the Pokemon Encounter or Trainer Battle have been remixed, but there are some entirely new themes for new areas or certain battles, and some of them are so good. Here are some of my favorites. Even though they play out very similarly to Sun and Moon, generally speaking, the difficulty curve for these games is far higher. So I guess you could see them as basically Sun and Moon but on hard mode. Some Pokemon level up moves have been changed too, like Litten learning Double Kick. Pretty much all follow-up games have new NPCs, trainers and dialogue changes, but Ultra Sun and Moon are ridiculous in this regard, especially considering they aren't sequels like Black and White 2. There are so many additional side quests and cutscenes that have nothing to do with the story, but they give the games a lot of depth and make it feel more interactive. I'd be here all day if I showed every single NPC change and cutscene, but some of my favorites would be Mukio and Mukiet, both of the Pikachu events at Hano Grand Resort. And all the petable Pokemon, they're so precious! It's really cool how they had a wide variety of these too, with some unexpected ones like Pelipper or Dewpider. Not gonna lie, Beware's a little bit uncomfortable though. For whatever reason, Mon now sports green, and a resolution is finally found to his story in the form of a cutscene in the post-game. Every Pokemon in the Alola Dex has a new entry. In the beginning of the game when you rescue Cosmog, you actually battle one of the Spearow. Makes you wonder why they have several tutorials after that, doesn't it? You can actually access the lower section of Mount Lanakila before the Pokemon League opens up this time. The construction workers have just moved place. The battle tree is basically the same, but this time you can be partnered up with none other than Lily! Oh, I'm so happy they didn't ship you off to Kanto. You can buy Beast Balls now. Of course, there are a bunch of new key items that are relevant to the plot. A lot of the areas have the obtainable items moved around, and even some new ones thrown in. A lot of these additional items can be obtained through the side quests that we mentioned before. Red and Blue also have higher level teams than in the originals. Well, most trainers do as part of the difficulty increase, but seeing as it's a post-game thing, I thought I'd mention it. Apparently in the originals, you could only get the Kanto Starter Megastones by beating Red in the battle tree, but now Red or Blue will do just fine. Ultra Sun and Moon also have a new selection of global missions. Let's hope they go down better than some of Sun and Moon's did. Ooh, we're not off to a good start. Festival Plaza is pretty much the same. Well, I guess that display looks a little better. Now you get to take a look at your guest photo club pictures too. The new facility that looks like an Alolan Persian lets you shuffle around Pokemon in the battle agency. You can also change the look of the Festival Plaza to the Team Rainbow Rocket theme. Good thing too, because it looks way better. The bottom menu is completely redesigned and looks different depending on whether you're playing Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. And finally, a tiny, and I mean really tiny selection of Pokemon received new Pokedex stills. Random Pokemon like the Yungoos, Cutiefly, and Morlul lines. And then of course all the Ultra Beasts and some legendaries, but not the starters? So, there you have it. What a surprise, the games are quite different after all. If I missed some stuff, then I'll probably make a bonus round like I did with Gen 5. Oh hey, quick little update thing. So, I have a Twitter, if you didn't know, which I post pretty stupid stuff on. I gain followers pretty consistently, but overnight it started going real whack. If it's some sort of bot cleanup, then I don't really care that much. But I was a bit worried that it might have removed some genuine followers, so if you're a follower of mine, double check that. And if you're not, then follow me. What are you doing? If my voice sounds different in this video, that's because it is. As luck would have it, I'm sick. But I didn't want to delay this video because it's been in the works since the games came out. Also, in the Sun and Moon version differences video, I forgot to mention that Parasect and Shiinotic are version exclusive battles in Mallow's trial, and it's bugged me for over a year, so I'm glad I got it off my chest. And would you look at that, we hit 300,000! Exactly a year to the day that I hit 200,000. That's bonkers. Here's to another year of I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Happy holidays!